So with this week's episode of Saekano, Eri gets the spotlight of majority of this episode. As last week, Utahal got the episode spotlight, and with this episode, you have to where Eri also gets the spotlight. We get to find out some characterization of her connection with the main male character Tomoya, and stuff like that pretty much going down in this episode. So, if you're an Eri fan, you're going to love this episode. Like I said last week, if you're a Utahal fan from last week, you're going to like that episode. And if you're an Eri fan, in this episode, you're just gonna love it. So with this episode, I like how once again they are focusing on other characters. As I said last week, I mean, I love the overall perspective of Utahal and getting to see more of her backstory and different things like that, and I'm glad the series once again tries to go to another character and flesh them out. So Eri in this episode, we get to see more of her personality, we get to see a cuter side to her. Besides her tsundere side with her Soon type act, she has a more cutesy side in this episode, and we get to see how she interacts with the main male character and how she goes to day-to-day life asking him for help and different things like that. And it was a really enjoyable, relaxing episode when you were watching it. So here's the thing, one thing I just want to start off and say, I don't know if I was the only one, hopefully I am not, but I feel like this episode is trying to make me have a leg fetish or something. Like, am I the only one? Like, there was a bunch of leg shots in this episode. Like, did anyone realize how many leg shots? Like, I'm not joking. Like, a lot of scenes in this episode were freaking leg shots. And I'm like, what the hell you trying to do to me, Psycho? Like, seriously, anyone that has a leg fetish is gonna be happy with this episode. Just like, damn. So just seeing how they use the paneling when it came to the animation, the arts, like you get to see different, perspectives of the characters, like behind them and stuff like that. I like the way they used that. I mean, usually I don't talk about something like that, but the way the camera was used in this episode of Saekano, it was just a really good perspective, like getting to see the different perspectives of the characters. I don't know if you understand what I'm getting at, but pretty much I'm talking about how they had the different angles behind them and stuff like that. It was really cool. Now, when it came to the animation of this episode of Saekano, I did notice a couple of derps. I will be real here and say that. When you had, Eri sitting in the park with Utahal, they were sitting in the park and you had that, like, childhood little sister friend come meet our main male character once again after 3 years. Well, you see the, like, animation drop in that scene. Like, Eri's face's eyes, like, just derp. Like, her face derps, her eyes derp. It just looks really weird if you start looking at it close enough. And so there was quite a few derps in this episode when it came to the faces, especially with the eye alignment. Like, the eyes were unaligned at certain points in this episode. Like, Kato in this episode, there was one scene where her eyes weren't even colored properly. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, they should have been, like, solid brown instead of black. I mean, there was a couple of scenes in this episode that had a little bit of derpy animation, but it's not too bad. BD DVDs can fix this up, but I just wanted to mention it because I did notice the very obvious animation drop in the center portion of this episode. Now, in the terms of progression of this episode, we have a new character introduced, or actually two characters introduced in this episode. A little sister type character that's introduced, and then you have this other character that was introduced is the older brother of this little sister character that wants to have a competition with our main cast of characters to make a game, and to see if Eri deserves to be on their team or, our main male character's team. And that's pretty much the episode in a nutshell. I mean, that's it. But I enjoyed the episode. It was very fun watching. I mean, it sets up a lot. It gives us characterization on Eri. We get to see her character fleshed out. Sadly enough, they didn't dive into a lot of the backstory like they did with Utahal, because Utahal's backstory last episode, that's fucking good. But with this episode, we didn't get as much backstory as I like. I mean, it's hinted at some backstory between this, little sister character and Eri, like they have some form of past or probably some issues in the past. It's hinted at, but it isn't specifically dived into to where we know what is really going on. So hopefully next episode it'll be cleared up and we can find out what's really going on in the background. So tell me your thoughts. How do you feel about this episode of Saekano? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? What's your favorite moments about it? You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.